What's good YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to go ahead and remake from scratch Drake's Rich Baby Daddy featuring Sexyy Red and SZA. Tempo for this one is 146 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Gordo, Klahr, LIOHN, BNYX, TheLoudPack, and UV Killin Em. For this remake, we're going to be working on the Drake and the Sexyy Red part, so part 1. So let's go ahead and work on those keys. So for the main part of that sound, we're going to go over to our browser. We're going to go to electric piano, and we're going to bring in the modern classic preset. Let's go ahead and draw on those chords. All right, so there are the chords there. Next, let's go ahead and just adjust the sound. I'm going to open up the ePiano plugin, and we're going to change the type of piano over to the stage Mark 1. Let's pull up some of the bass, treble as well. Let's pull up some chorus. Next, let's go over to the details page. We're going to make sure our tine bell is pushed all the way to the max to give it that clanky sound. Let's push up our decay a bit. Next, let's layer that sound with a pad just to give it that texture that it needs. We're going to create a new software instrument track. And for this, we're going to bring in Logic's Retro Synth. And we're going to bring in a preset, a strings preset. So we're going to go to our browser here. We're going to go to Synth Strings, and we're going to bring in the Bright Strings preset. We're going to copy down the same pattern, and it sounds like this. So that's too bright. Let's filter a bit of that out. Now let's take a little bit of that low end out of that pad. And mix together. All right, next let's go ahead and bring in that vocal sample. The sample actually comes from a Jessica Domingo Splice sample pack. It's the Sounds of JDOM Volume 1. And the loop that you want to take is OSS SOJD 133 vocal loop Is It All. This one right here. So what we're going to do here is just push this over to the side, and we're going to drag in that audio. So the first thing we gotta do with that loop is make sure that it tempo matches our current session. So this is 16 bars at 133 beats per minute. So let's make it 16 bars at 146 beats per minute. So just like that, we're gonna hold down the Option key, and at the end of your region, you'll see the squiggly line. So you'll just drag it to 16 bars. Now let's go ahead and chop up those vocals. It's not a straight playthrough, there's chops involved. But before we get to those chops, let's go ahead and just pitch this up 2 semitones. Off the bat, we're gonna go ahead and just push this like this. Push this over 1 bar, push that back, and we get this. Let's just find our chops, then we'll get to editing. So we need that I could right there, so I'm gonna delete this. So let's push that back. And then we gotta search for another phrase to finish up that sentence. We need that Be and Hurt sample right here. And that's all we really need. So we're gonna delete that. We're just gonna shrink this down to something like that. Let's push this here. So this being hurt is going to hit right on the next chord. But we just got to make that flow a little bit better. So let's just push that back a bit. Let's play it with the keys. Then that vocal loop just loops itself. So this phrase over here gets repeated right over here. And then it plays again into the next portion. Now let's just process these vocals a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to settings. We're going to go over to legacy, logic. We're going to go to voice. We're going to go female voice. And we're going to bring in the female ambient lead vocal. We'll pump up the reverb a bit. And the only thing I'm going to do here as well, like in the original track, there was some delay. So I'm going to bring in an echo plugin right before the reverb. We'll go delay, echo, stereo. It just makes those vocals flow a little bit better. Now, let's get to the drums. I'm creating a new software instrument track. And I created a drum kit for this remake. We're going to go to user patches. We're going to go to drum kits. And we're going to go to the Rich Baby Daddy drum kit. Here it is right here. This drum kit is samples from the For All the Dogs Deconstructed kit. So if you're looking for the drum sounds from For All the Dogs album, link down below. So we're going to start off with something easy. We'll start off with the snare. So it's going to go like this. Let's go ahead and get to the hi-hat. Next, let's get to the kick. Let's get to the open hat. So that just happens at the end of the pattern. So I'm going to take those out and I'll take these out as well. Next, let's bring in the bass. I'm going to create a new software instrument track. And I'm going to go over to bring in instrument. We'll bring in Logic's ES1 synthesizer. We're going to bring in a preset. We're going to go over to synth bass, the deep bass preset. Let's draw on that pattern. It's just 2 notes. On the bass, we're just going to go ahead and pull down the drive a little bit. Next is bring in some guitars. We're going to go over to our browser. We're going to go over to Legacy, Logic. We're going to go over to guitars. We're going to go to electric guitars. And we're going to bring in the revolving lines preset. Let's draw on that pattern. I'm just going to take off this amp here so it's not so gritty. And I'm just going to soften this sound up a little bit as well. Trust the process. I know it doesn't sound good yet, but it'll make sense in a bit. All right, so I just sped that up a little bit because it took a minute there. Next, we're going to go ahead and just humanize this a bit. So we're going to go ahead and Control A. We're going to quantize everything to 8s. Let's open up our inspector tab here, quantize to 8s once again here. And we're going to add in some Q flam. We're going to push over the notes just to give it a little bit more realism. And now let's bring everything together with some EQ and chorus. So we're going to open up our EQ here. We're going to filter out a lot. So let's go and just reset this. We'll take out a lot of the top end. Let's take out a lot of the bottom end as well. And let's bring in some chorus. We'll go to modulation chorus. And that just happens in the background. I told you the guitars would make sense at the end of it. Now let's bring in a lead. So I'm gonna create a new software instrument track. And I'm gonna go over to my browser here. I'm gonna go over to the Forever 80s preset kit, a sounds of just basically a lot of 80s classic sounds. And we're gonna bring in a string sound, the S Strings Champions preset. And let's draw on that pattern. It's really only 3 notes. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do here is just add in the switch up to the drums. So the only thing we're gonna copy over is the keyboard and the bass line. And we're just gonna add in the snare and clap pattern that happens in the switch up. Let's go over here to the snare sound first. Now let's bring in the clap. It's pretty much the same pattern. And the next thing that we have to do here is bring in a little bit of vinyl crackle. So for that, I'm going to go over to my 2023 kit. We'll go to the I'm using my mobile kits 2023. We're going to go over to the ambience and effects portion of that kit. We'll go to vinyl and scratches, and I'm going to bring in. Let's bring in the vinyl dirt right here. So I'm going to bring that in here. So that's a little loud. I'm just going to make sure that this will loop properly. I'm just going to shorten that up over there, duplicate that over, and lower the volume. So that's pretty much it. Next, I'm going to go ahead and arrange it and mix it. And when we come back, we'll take a listen to the finished version of Drake's Rich Baby Daddy featuring Sexyy Red and SZA, at least the Sexyy Red and Drake portion of the track. That's the remake to Drake's Rich Baby Daddy featuring Sexyy Red and SZA, remade in Logic Pro. For your Logic users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you. Place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to export all the MIDI stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that playback down below the like button as well. If you do have any questions on this, we can go chat in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.